What's up, guys? Welcome back to a series review. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here at JB's Corner, where we talk all things books, which makes me warm and fuzzy inside. I absolutely adore all bookish things. If that is your vibe, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we are going to be doing a series review of 4 books. Lucy Score is obviously a very popular author. The series that I hear people talk about the most with her, though, is definitely the Nakamura series. And the Knockabout series, I do have them up there. And Buy a Thread for the standalone, which I also have up there, which I have not read the Knockabout series yet. The Buy a Thread was absolutely wonderful, but I haven't heard people talk about the Riley Thorne series too much. And I happened upon these when I was visiting our local Target, and I was like, let's pick them up and see what happens. And I'm just here to tell you, I loved them. That being said, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail and talk more about these lovely books. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. I talk all things books here with a little sprinkling of random travel, fashion, and just meanness in the middle. But for the most part, we talk all things books. And for those of you who are new, if that's something you enjoy, I do put videos on every Wednesday and Sunday. And if this video is everything you wanted and it makes you feel warm and fuzzy and gooey, just like it makes me feel warm and fuzzy and gooey, then you're definitely in the right place. So definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. If you are a returning watcher, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for being here and supporting me as I grow this bookish community. I just love the book community in general. I think everyone is so friendly and kind and so open-minded, and I love that about this environment. And I love the fact that everyone loves books. And so if you are back to support me, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, let's get into the books. So the Riley Thorne series by Lucy Score is 4 books in total. Riley Thorne is our main female character. She is a psychic, a begrudging psychic, I should say. She knows she has psychic powers, but she's been her whole life trying to avoid the fact that she has these psychic powers. And then our main male lead is Nick. Nick is Nick Santiago, to be exact. He is a private investigator who used to be a cop, found that he didn't want to quite follow all the rules, but still wanted to put bad guys behind bars and get paid to do what he loves. He also likes to live life on the edge. He's a little bit of a thrill seeker. Very, very good looking man, ladies man, killer vibes. But he is basically our main male lead in the series, and he is investigating the dead guy that happens to be Riley's neighbor, and that's how these two meet up in the first book, and the rest is history. The side characters in these books are absolutely wonderful. You have Gabe, who is basically a cheerful Labrador that follows Riley around. He was sent there by Riley's grandmother to help guide her as she comes into her psychic powers. With or without Riley's permission, it does not matter. Her grandmother's going to do what her grandmother's going to do. So one day Gabe just shows up. Riley is also a recent divorcee of a TV anchor, Griffin, who is absolutely a just horrible human being, like the most full of himself, useless character ever. But Griffin Gentry is just a jerk, and he not only cheats on Riley in their home, in their bed, in front of her, but somehow managed to sue her for her money when she punches him for his indiscretions. And now she is completely broke, renting a room in a mansion that is falling apart, that is owned by a brother and sister who are both in their 80s. And so now all her roommates are octogenarians, and they're all super old, and they're all super quirky. Pile on top of that, Riley's half-sister, Wander, who is absolutely gorgeous, the most zen person ever, and is a yoga teacher, fully appreciates her psychic powers and has fully come into that, has 3 beautiful children, but no husband, and kind of is this laissez-faire person. And then you have Riley's parents, who are absolutely kooky, quirky characters themselves. Roger is just absolutely hilarious, and her mom is obviously also in the psychic realm, but prefers to use her talents in tarot. And then you also have Nick Santiago's parents, who are upper class, like echelon people. They're very, very particular. They have a little bit of snootery and snobbery to them as well, but they're still like relatively decent people. And you have that little power struggle going on between Nick, his sister, and his parents that's happening. And then you also have Riley's best friend, Jasmine, who is a lawyer. She's drop dead gorgeous. She's very good at what she does. She has terrible taste in men, and she's always ready to be there to support Riley and has her back. And then outside of that, you have all kinds of other kooky characters that show up throughout the series as the books continue. The best way that I could describe the genre of these books is cozy mystery. That's the vibes I get from them. There is definitely murder going on. There is definitely a goal to solve the mysteries. That is the primary motive of the books, but there's no gore. There's nothing too insane. People do get shot at, like all kinds of crazy things happen, but nobody dies. Like everyone at the end of the day goes home happy and just fulfilled. Lots of charming characters, lots of quirky vibes, lots of small town vibes. Like it's just absolutely wonderful. It's like Gotham essentially, but positive. So instead of having that Batman dark spin, it's like Nick is our Batman and Riley is his Robin, and they're cleaning up their home of Harrisburg, which is a hot mess, but also a hot mess with pink and flowers and beautiful birds singing everywhere. That's the best way I can describe it. I know that makes no sense, but that's how it sounds in my head. And basically, this is cozy mystery vibes, small town vibes, and that is your character list. So that is the overview I would give for the entire series. Altogether, this was a 4-star series for me. The first book was a hardcore 5-star. That was The Dead Guy Next Door. The second book, The Corpse in the Closet, was a 4-star read for me. The third book, The Blast from the Past, was a 3-star book for me. And then The Body in the Backyard brought me back up to a 4-star. So altogether, definitely a 4-star series. So without further ado, let's jump into the plot lines of each of the books without hopefully spoiling too much. And then also kind of getting into the journey of the characters per book. So this first book was The Dead Guy Next Door. The Dead Guy Next Door is basically the introduction of Riley and Nick's story together. Nick is basically hired by a family member of the deceased to look into where he is and what his whereabouts are and why he was murdered. Before he gets into that, something brings him to the soon-to-be dead guy's doorstep where he meets Riley for the first time because Riley's neighbor happens to be this person. The main character, like the murder victim, if you will, is a horrible human. He ages prematurely. He has a condition that just makes him look older than he actually is. But outside of that, he's running a gambling rink. He basically owns a bar that's a Hooters, if you will, but treats his employees even more poorly. Doesn't really clean up after himself, leaves dirty underwear everywhere, basically sits around and watches porn all day. This is her next door neighbor. Looks like he's 80, but he's actually 50. Gets himself into a tricky situation with his business partner and ends up getting murdered. Riley gets entered into this scenario because she is a sidekick. So she sees something horrible happening to this man and then ends up consistently bumping into Nick, which is how their romance and their story takes off. Through the gist of it all, she basically gets roped into the investigation and trying to figure out who the silent partner is and why there was a murder that occurred and all this good stuff, and basically finds herself in a much more exciting environment than she's used to. Riley is very much a rule follower. She goes by the book, by the line. She has a very serious job that she absolutely hates, that she's just doing to pay the bills. She absolutely hates her work environment. She's not a fan of her coworkers. She's really trying to be as normal as possible while being as far from normal as possible. And basically is constantly surrounded by chaos because her octogenarian roommates are insane but have the energy of like 15-year-olds and are just a hilarious group of characters. Like honestly, they're probably one of the highlights of this book. Mrs. Penny in particular is this highly energetic, highly driven 80-year-old that pulls the age card whenever it suits her, but for the most part is actually like 100% with it, is a great shot with the gun, and is also a vigilante. So we have Miss Penny out on the loose, then we have Lily and Fred, who own the house, they are very quirky characters. They don't really want to put money into repairs and things like that. They do look for shortcuts. They're quite intelligent. They're quite capable. They're also very boy and girl crazy, respectively. You have Mr. Willicott, who looks 100% like Denzel Washington's twin. He's very fit, very healthy, but has the most dementia out of all of the characters. And all of them live in their kooky little world together with Riley, basically having to babysit / care for her elder roommates while also having a blast with them. Nick is the type of character where he likes to get into trouble. He likes things to be by the seat of his pants. He loves a good adventure. He's definitely a ladies' man, has been around the block. And then all of a sudden finds himself thinking about potentially settling down and bumps into Riley and meets the girl of his dreams. And his character quirks, outside of himself, he comes with a package of his cousin, who is his partner in crime, who basically does all the cyber tech in his office, and Josie, who is his cousin's wife, who looks like a very petite, sweet woman, but is actually a ninja in secret. She's martially trained, and she's very into weaponry and fighting, and basically is the muscle of Nick's operation. When all of these pieces come together, they obviously find themselves in a bit of a ruckus as they're trying to figure out what's going on. Crazy things keep happening, and we may have a book that ends up potentially in a shootout in the middle of a fountain. All I can say is this was a great read. It was so much fun. The book just flew by, and I honestly finished this book in the span of like 3 days, and I loved it. This was a 100% physical read book for me. All 4 of these were, and I can honestly say they were great. I would definitely recommend. But that is the first book without ruining too much. The second book basically finds Riley and Nick, trying to work together as private investigators. They have some office things that are going on. I'm just going to leave it there because I think it ruins too much of what happens at the end of the first book. And they're just basically trying to figure out their work situation together. They're living with their elderly roommates, and Gabe and Wander and all their parents and all these other characters coming in and out of the storyline as well. And all of a sudden, Riley's nose does a twitch, saying something's happening, and she finds out, and Nick gets hired to solve the case of a murdered woman in her closet. Again, horrible human being, like drain on society. Basically a mother who has decided she cares more about being platinum blonde and telling people how to trick their husbands into spending massive amounts of money in order for her to be continuously vapid and basically just continuously materialistic, while also judging and putting down all other people. And they get roped into solving the case of his murder. This leads to another dead body and another missing person, and eventually a shootout in a newsroom. So altogether, very entertaining book as well. I love the fact that even though there are serial murders in this book, the serial killer, when they're revealed at the end, is actually a really entertaining character. I also love the fact that Riley once again puts herself through crazy things. Other fun things that happen, there is a spike cow in this book, and I love the spike cow, Daisy. It's just wonderful, like absolutely amazing that there is a spike cow. Also, all of a sudden, Riley's scary grandmother shows up to help her with her powers and embracing her psychic capacities. And there is also a dog in the first book that gets introduced, and a cat that shows up in the second book. All I can say is, again, very fun, quirky read. Lots of crazy things that are happening in this book, and it's just fun, fast-paced, easy read. But this one is about solving serial murders, and the way that the murderer says that you are the next target is by sending you a gigantic confetti glitter bomb. Like, what could you possibly want more other than a red bedazzled glitter bomb show up at your doorstep to mark that you're about to die? Loved this book. Great for transitioning from summer to fall, because it definitely has some fun summer romance vibes. That cozy mystery vibe is great for summer feels as well. But because it's also murder, mayhem, mystery, also great for the fall. So I think this is like the perfect set of books to read between that time frame of hitting like end of August, beginning of September, when you really want that fall feel, but you're not quite ready to get rid of summer either. This is your series. The next book is A Blast from a Past. In this book, there is a character that is reintroduced who is important to Nick's childhood and Nick's past, also part of the reason as to why he quit the force, and explains, force being the cops, like the police force, and also explains why he doesn't get along with one particular detective who is his best friend, his brother from another mother, but also the person who drives him up the wall the most, and is also the most straight-laced cop there is. I thought this book was hilarious. Reading about the different family members of Weber, Detective Weber, who is Nick's frenemy, if you will, from the police force, was super fun to read. Jasmine and Josie feature a little bit more in this book. That is Nick's cousin's wife, the muscle of his group, and then Jasmine is the lawyer best friend of Riley, who is like this beautiful, high brainiac, amazing woman, but has terrible taste in men. It kind of showcases their characters a little bit more. We also get a little bit more of Nick Santiago's family in this book. You get to see a little bit more of his relationship with his mom and dad and his sister and all those things. You also get to see a little bit more in terms of the dynamic of Nick and Riley's relationship, as well as, of course, our octogenarian Brood, because they have to be a part of the story too. But overall, I would say this was a highly entertaining read. Would definitely recommend. I do think this one bothered me a little bit because the main victim, if you will, in this book, throughout the majority of the book, it was very hard to really 100% relate to her or get into her character or her head. And then the bigger issue I had was the ending. I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed. The way that everything was tied together wasn't perfect for me, and there was some loopholes, I felt like, and that's what really kind of made me drop my star from a 4-star to a 3-star for this book. But I would still say that overall it was a great read. It was still enjoyable. It's still one that I wanted to pick up and finish from start to finish, and again, completely wanted to physically read this book by myself. Love the cover, love the vibes, love the feel. Perfect for that summer to fall transition. And then last but not least, we have The Body in the Backyard. I actually finished reading this yesterday and I could not wait to film this video. This book in particular was very entertaining because the victim, quote unquote, in this book is someone who has been threatened and has been told that he will get murdered if he doesn't change certain habits. And it's none other than Riley's ex-husband, who is honestly one of the worst human beings on his planet, as well as his fiance, Bella, who is the woman he decides that he's going to be with after he dumped Riley, after he cheated on Riley in their home. So it's just highly entertaining. Let me just read the back of this one to you guys because I think you'll get more of a vibe. Not only does Griffin Gentry show up unexpectedly at Riley Thorne's door, the real shock is that he's begging her for help. Riley's hot private investigator boyfriend, Nick Santiago, refusing to take the job is, well, less of a surprise. Too bad for Nick that his octogenarian business partner overrules him and takes the lead on Griffin's case. But when a dead body makes it clear someone really is out to get Riley's ex, the mile-long suspect line means all hands on deck at Santiago investigations, even the wrinkly retired ones. It's only a matter of time before Griffin brings the danger directly to their doorstep, and with Riley and Nick busy interviewing suspects, that leaves their elderly roommates to wreak havoc in the surveillance department. Can Riley block out the chaos to focus her psychic visions long enough to narrow down the list of suspects, or will Griffin Gentry's bad karma be the downfall of them all? Loved this book. Thought it was absolutely hilarious. I think in general, Griffin's character is just so irritating, which is what made me knock down a star in this book. But overall, I thought the vibes of the book was great. I did think, again, the ending plotline piece that kind of pulls the whole book together was a little far-fetched. I didn't quite love the way that the book was tied together, which is the only thing that kind of irritated me about how this book ended off, but that's kind of what led to the 1-star loss in this book from a 5-star to a 4-star. But I would still say it was a highly entertaining read, and I had a blast getting through this book. I absolutely love how many people hate Griffin Gentry, and I love the fact that throughout the course of this book, Riley realizes how many people are on her side, and I also love seeing Nick and Riley working so closely together and continuing to grow their relationship. It's always fun to see the side characters as well, and I loved seeing them kind of play out their roles and seeing some tail ends to their stories as well that were really beautiful and tied up nicely. Overall, I think this is a great series. I enjoyed it so much. I really think you guys will too. I mean, if you're into cozy mystery vibes and you want something that's an easy palate cleanser, something that's just transitional, kind of getting you into the mood for a mystery thriller vibe, but you don't quite want to jump into that intensity yet, but you want something fun, flirty, light, happy, enjoyable, but still with a little bit of, a whodunit vibe. These are your books. These are your books. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is my review on the Riley Thorne series by Lucy Score. I think these books are not spoken about enough on the internet. If you are a Lucy Score book fan, please, please, please go check these out. I really don't think you'll regret it. And that brings us to the end of this video. Once again, my name is Jaya. Thank you so much for joining me in this corner of the internet and being a part of our bookish community. If this is your vibe, I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday and would love to see you back. We usually do all coverage on book-related topics with some sprinkling of travel and fashion. And then for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for joining me again. It was absolutely wonderful seeing you. Please leave your comments below as to whether this inspired you, if you would be interested in reading these series, and if you've read anything else that's similar to this vibe that I may enjoy that you think I should check out, because I definitely will. And until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.